My name is Natalie Pierce, and I found out my husband was sleeping with my best friend at exactly 3:15 on a Thursday afternoon. I know the exact time because I was staring at my phone, watching a video they didn't know existed, and the timestamp in the corner seemed to burn into my brain. The video came from my own security camera, the one I'd installed in our bedroom 6 months ago after a string of break-ins in the neighborhood. The one that backed up to cloud storage. The one my husband, Kyle, had completely forgotten about. I was at work, sitting in my office at the marketing firm, when I got a motion alert on my phone. Usually it was just our cat, Buttons, doing parkour off the furniture, but this time I opened the app and saw Kyle, with Vanessa, my best friend since college, in my bed, doing things that made my stomach turn. I didn't scream, I didn't cry, I just sat there, watching in complete silence as my entire world rearranged itself. Everything I'd thought was real suddenly looked different, like one of those optical illusions where you see a vase until someone points out it's actually two faces. The video was 12 minutes long. I watched all of it, then I watched it again, looking for any sign I'd misunderstood. Maybe it was a prank. Maybe I was hallucinating. Maybe the camera had somehow mixed up footage from someone else's house. But no, that was definitely Kyle's tattoo of a compass on his shoulder. That was definitely Vanessa's laugh, the one I'd heard a million times over brunch and wine nights. That was definitely my bedroom, with the gray comforter I'd bought last month and the painting of a lighthouse Vanessa had given me for my birthday. My hands were surprisingly steady as I downloaded the video to 3 different locations: my personal laptop, a USB drive in my desk drawer, and a private email account Kyle didn't know about. I'd learned that lesson from watching enough true crime shows. Always have backups. Then I sat back and started thinking. Kyle and Vanessa. How long had this been going on? How many times had she sat in my living room, drinking my wine, listening to me talk about my marriage, all while sleeping with my husband? How many times had he kissed me goodbye and gone straight to her? The rage came slowly, building like a storm on the horizon. Not the hot, explosive kind that makes you throw things, the cold, calculating kind that makes you dangerous. I had 48 hours until Kyle's parents' anniversary party on Saturday, a party I'd been planning for months, a party where everyone we knew would be gathered in one place. 48 hours to plan the perfect revenge. I closed the security app and opened my calendar. Thursday afternoon, Friday, Saturday morning. Not a lot of time, but enough if I was smart about it, and I was very motivated to be smart. First, I needed information. I texted Vanessa like nothing was wrong. "Hey girl, coffee tomorrow morning? Been too long." She responded within minutes. "Yes, I miss you. 10 at the usual place." "Perfect," I typed back, each letter feeling like a small act of war. She had no idea what was coming. Neither did Kyle. I drove home at my normal time, stopping at the grocery store like I always did on Thursdays. I even bought Kyle's favorite beer, which took every ounce of self-control I had. I needed them both to think everything was normal. Suspicion would ruin everything. Kyle was already home when I walked in, sprawled on the couch watching sports. He smiled when he saw me, the same smile I'd fallen in love with 7 years ago. Now it just looked like a mask. "Hey babe, how was work?" "Same old chaos. How about you?" I kept my voice light, casual, like I hadn't spent the afternoon watching him betray me. "Boring day at the office, Henderson's being a pain about the Morrison account." He worked in sales for a tech company, or at least that's what he told me. Now I wondered how many late client meetings had actually been meetings with Vanessa. I put groceries away while he talked about his day, every word another lie by omission. When had he gotten so good at this? Or had he always been this way and I'd just been too trusting to notice? Dinner was normal. We ate pasta and talked about the anniversary party. Kyle complained about having to wear a suit. I pretended to care. Inside, I was counting down. 47 hours and 30 minutes. That night, lying in our bed, I stared at the ceiling while Kyle slept beside me. This was the same bed I'd seen in the video, the same sheets. Had they done this before? How many times had I been at work, completely oblivious while they were here? I didn't sleep much. Instead, I refined my plan, thinking through every detail, every potential problem. By the time the sun came up, I knew exactly what I was going to do. Friday morning, I got up early and made Kyle breakfast. Eggs, bacon, toast, the works. He looked surprised but pleased. "What's the occasion?" "No occasion, just wanted to do something nice." I smiled sweetly while internally composing his eulogy. He kissed my cheek before leaving for work. "Love you, Nat." "Love you too." The words tasted like poison. The moment his car pulled out of the driveway, I was moving. I had 8 hours before coffee with Vanessa and a lot to accomplish. First stop, Kyle's office. I called his assistant pretending to be a client. She confirmed he was in meetings all morning. Perfect. I drove to his office building and waited in the parking garage. Sure enough, 40 minutes later, he walked out with his coworker, Tessa. They got into her car together, laughing. He told me he had back-to-back meetings all day. Another lie. I followed them to a restaurant across town. They sat at a corner table, ordering drinks and appetizers. The way they leaned toward each other, the way he touched her hand, made everything clear. It wasn't just Vanessa. Kyle was a serial cheater, and I'd been completely blind. Part of me wanted to storm in there and cause a scene, but that wasn't the plan. The plan required patience. I took photos through the restaurant window, clear shots of Kyle and Tessa looking very much like a couple, and drove away. Next up, Vanessa's apartment. She'd given me a spare key years ago for emergencies. This qualified. I let myself in, feeling only slightly guilty about the invasion of privacy. She'd been in my bed with my husband. I figured we were even. Her apartment was neat, organized, exactly like Vanessa. I went straight to her bedroom and started searching. It didn't take long. In her nightstand drawer, under a stack of magazines, I found a leather journal. I flipped it open. The entries made me sick. Dates, times, details about her affair with Kyle. It had been going on for 8 months. 8 months of lies and betrayal from the two people I trusted most. Some entries were almost cruel. Nat called today, crying about feeling disconnected from Kyle. If only she knew. My hands shook with rage as I photographed every page. But then I found something else. A letter, tucked in the back of the journal. It was from Kyle to Vanessa, dated 3 weeks ago. He wrote about leaving me, about starting a life with her. He said he was just waiting for the right time to tell me. The right time, like there was a good time to destroy someone's life. I photographed everything, put it all back exactly as I'd found it, and left. My hands gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white as I drove to the coffee shop. 36 hours left. Vanessa was already there when I arrived, sitting at our usual table by the window. She waved enthusiastically, her smile bright and fake. I wanted to throw my coffee in her face. Instead, I smiled back and sat down. "You look tired," she said, concern dripping from her voice. "Everything okay?" "Just stressed about the party tomorrow. So much to do." I stirred sugar into my coffee. "Kyle's been helpful, though. Well, when he's not at work." Something flickered in her eyes. Guilt? Fear? "That's good. You two seem really happy." I almost laughed. "We are. 7 years and still going strong." I watched her carefully. "What about you? Still dating that guy from the gym?" "We broke up, actually. Turns out he was seeing someone else." The irony was apparently lost on her. We talked for an hour. She asked about the party, offered to help with last-minute details. I accepted graciously, all while imagining tomorrow's reveal. She had no idea she was helping me set up her own public humiliation. After coffee, I had one more stop. Kyle's best friend, Marcus, lived 20 minutes away. I'd always liked Marcus. He was honest, loyal, the kind of friend everyone should have. If anyone deserved to know what Kyle was really like, it was him. I showed up at his door unannounced. He looked surprised, but invited me in. "Nat, Everything okay? Where's Kyle? That's what I need to talk to you about. I pulled out my phone and showed him everything. The bedroom video, the photos of Kyle with Tessa, the journal entries from Vanessa. His face went from confused to angry to disgusted in the span of 5 minutes. That piece of trash, Marcus muttered, staring at the phone. How long have you known? Since yesterday, and I'm going to expose him tomorrow at the anniversary party. I explained my plan. Marcus listened, then slowly smiled. I'm in. Whatever you need. I need you to act normal tonight at the rehearsal dinner. Can you do that? It'll be hard not to punch him, but yeah, I can do it. The rehearsal dinner was that evening, just family and close friends, at Kyle's parents' house. I'd helped plan it, ordered the catering, arranged everything. Walking in there, knowing what I knew, felt surreal. Kyle's mom, Patricia, hugged me tight. Thank you so much for organizing all of this, dear. You're such a blessing to this family. I felt like a fraud. Tomorrow, I'd be the woman who ruined their anniversary party, but they deserved to know what their son really was. Dinner was torture. Kyle sat beside me, holding my hand, playing the perfect husband. Vanessa was there too, invited as my best friend. She and Kyle barely looked at each other, which was almost funny. They thought they were being subtle. Marcus caught my eye across the table and gave me a slight nod. We were really doing this. That night, Kyle tried to initiate intimacy. I made excuses about being tired, stressed about tomorrow. He seemed disappointed, but didn't push. I lay awake long after he fell asleep, running through my plan one more time. Everything had to be perfect. 24 hours left. Saturday morning arrived with sunshine and blue skies, like the universe had a sense of humor. I got up early, showered, put on my best dress. Red, Kyle's favorite color. I figured if I was going to destroy my marriage, I might as well look good doing it. Kyle was still sleeping when I left. I had a million things to do before the party at 2. First, I stopped at a print shop and picked up the order I'd placed online last night. 24 poster boards, each one featuring screenshots from the bedroom video, photos of Kyle and Tessa, and excerpts from Vanessa's journal. The printer had given me a weird look, but I'd paid extra for discretion and rush service. Next, I visited the venue. The country club where we'd booked the anniversary party was beautiful, with a huge ballroom and floor-to-ceiling windows. The event coordinator helped me set up, thinking the posters were part of a surprise anniversary slideshow. I didn't correct her. I positioned them strategically around the room, covered with white sheets. To anyone arriving early, they'd just looked like decorations waiting to be revealed, which, in a way, they were. By noon, everything was ready. The catering was set up, the bar was stocked, the DJ was doing sound checks. Patricia and Kyle's dad, Harold, arrived early to oversee final details. They had no idea their perfect son was about to be exposed as a cheating liar. "Everything looks wonderful, Natalie," Patricia said, tears in her eyes. 40 years of marriage, and you've made this day so special. Guilt twisted in my stomach, but I pushed it down. This wasn't about hurting them. This was about the truth. Guests started arriving at 1:30. Kyle showed up at 1:45, looking handsome in his navy suit. He found me by the bar and kissed my cheek. "You've outdone yourself, babe. This place looks amazing." "Thanks. There's going to be a special presentation later." "Can't wait." He had no idea. Vanessa arrived at 2, wearing a blue dress that probably cost more than my car payment. She hugged me like we were real friends. "You look gorgeous, Nat. Everything okay? You seem tense." "Just want everything to be perfect." More perfect than she could imagine. By 2:15, everyone had arrived. Over 100 people filled the ballroom. Family, friends, Kyle's coworkers, people from the neighborhood, all gathered to celebrate a marriage that had lasted 40 decades, completely unaware that another marriage was about to implode spectacularly. Marcus found me near the DJ booth. "Are you sure about this?" Absolutely certain. My hands were steady, my mind was clear. This was happening. The party went smoothly for the first hour. People ate, drank, mingled. Kyle's parents gave a speech about love and commitment that made several people cry. The irony wasn't lost on me. Then it was time for my surprise. I took the microphone from the DJ. "Excuse me, everyone? Can I have your attention, please?" The room quieted. Kyle looked confused but smiled encouragingly. "I wanted to do something special today. As many of you know, I've been with Kyle for 7 years, married for 4. And in that time, I've learned so much about love, trust, and commitment." People nodded. Patricia wiped her eyes. Kyle still looked confused. So I created a little presentation, a tribute, if you will, to the power of truth. I nodded to Marcus, who started pulling the white sheets off the posters. The room erupted. The first poster people saw was the bedroom video screenshot, Kyle and Vanessa clearly visible. The gasps were immediate. Kyle's face went from confused to horrified in 2 seconds flat. Vanessa actually screamed. "What the hell?" Kyle started toward me, but Marcus blocks him. "Let her finish," Marcus said calmly. I kept talking, my voice amplified by the microphone. "These posters show what Kyle's been doing for the past 8 months, with my best friend Vanessa, and also with his coworker Tessa, who's here today." I pointed to Tessa, who'd been standing near the buffet. She went pale and bolted for the exit. Patricia looked like she might faint. Harold was staring at the posters with his mouth open. Other guests were pulling out their phones, taking pictures. This was going to be all over social media, in minutes. "Natalie, stop!" Kyle pleaded, trying to get past Marcus. "Please, we can talk about this." "We're past talking, Kyle. You had 8 months to talk. You chose to lie instead." I looked at Vanessa, who was crying. "Both of you did. You crazy witch. You had no right to go through my private journal. And you had no right to sleep with my husband in my bed." I turned back to the crowd. Here's the thing about betrayal. It's not just about the act. It's about every lie that came with it. Every time Kyle told me he loved me while planning to leave. Every time Vanessa pretended to be my friend while writing about me in her journal. I walked over to one of the posters featuring journal excerpts. Here's a good one. "Natalie is so naive. She has no idea her perfect marriage is falling apart." Or this one. "Kyle says he'll leave her soon. We're just waiting for the right time." Someone in the crowd said, "Oh my God." Others were whispering, pointing, staring at Kyle and Vanessa with disgust. Kyle finally pushed past Marcus and grabbed my arm. "Enough. You've made your point." I jerked away. "Have I? Because I don't think everyone's seen the best part yet." I nodded to Marcus again. He unveiled the final poster, the letter Kyle had written to Vanessa about leaving me. Patricia read it out loud, her voice shaking. "I can't wait to start our life together. Natalie will be fine. She's stronger than she looks." She turned to her son, tears streaming down her face. "How could you—" Kyle's dad just walked away, heading straight for the bar. "You destroyed everything," Kyle said to me, his voice broken. "Our marriage, my reputation, my relationship with my parents. Was this worth it?" I looked him directly in the eye. "You destroyed our marriage 8 months ago. I just made sure everyone knew about it. And yes, Kyle, this was absolutely worth it." Vanessa tried to leave, but several women blocked her path. "You call yourself a friend?" one of them said. I recognized her as Kyle's cousin. "You're disgusting." The party fell apart after that. Most people left within 20 minutes, but not before making their opinions known. Kyle's aunt called him a disgrace. His college buddies said he'd lost all respect for him. Even the DJ looked uncomfortable. Marcus drove me home while Kyle stayed behind to face his parents. "You okay?" he asked. "I'm perfect." And I meant it. For the first time in 2 days, I felt light, free. The weight of betrayal and lies have been crushing me, but now everyone knew the truth. I didn't have to pretend anymore. That evening, alone in my house, I poured a glass of wine and sat on my couch. My phone was blowing up with messages, some supportive, some calling me crazy, most just asking for details. I ignored all of them. Kyle tried to come home around 8th. I'd changed the locks that morning. He pounded on the door for 10 minutes before giving up. He'd have to stay somewhere else tonight, maybe with Vanessa or Tessa. I didn't care. Sunday morning, I woke up feeling better than I had in months. The house was quiet, peaceful, no more wondering where Kyle really was or what he was doing. No more pretending my marriage was fine. Just me, my coffee, and the knowledge that I'd taken control of my own story. My phone rang. It was Patricia. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Natalie? Her voice was rough, like she'd been crying all night. I need to apologize. You didn't do anything wrong. I raised a son who could do this, who could treat his wife and his family this way. I'm so sorry. She paused. What you did yesterday was harsh, but I understand why. You deserved better than what he gave you. We talked for an hour. She told me she'd kicked Cal out last night, told him not to come back until he'd figured out who he wanted to be. She said Harold was devastated, but also furious. The family was rallying around me, not Kyle. That felt like its own kind of justice. Over the next few days, the fallout continued. Kyle's company fired him after the story made its way through the office. Turns out, dating coworkers was against company policy. Vanessa lost several friends who had been mutual between us. She left town a week later, unable to handle the shame. I filed for divorce immediately. Kyle tried to fight it, claimed I'd humiliated him unfairly. But with all the evidence of his affairs, his lawyer advised him to settle. I got the house, the car, most of our savings. Kyle got to start over with nothing, which seemed appropriate. Marcus checked on me regularly, making sure I was eating and sleeping. "You're handling this better than most people would," he said one evening over pizza. I got my revenge. Now I get to move on. Kyle has to live with everyone knowing what he did. That's going to follow him for years. Think you'll ever forgive him? I thought about it. Maybe someday, but I'll never forget. And I'll never regret what I did. 2 weeks after the party, I got a letter from Kyle. He apologized, said he understood why I'd done it, claimed he wanted to work things out. I burned it without reading past the first paragraph. Some things couldn't be fixed with apologies. Life moved forward. I threw myself into work, got a promotion, started going to therapy to work through the betrayal, began planning what my post-Kyle life would look like. It felt good to be in control again, to make decisions based on what I wanted, instead of trying to save a marriage that had been dead for months. The funny thing about revenge is that people expect you to feel guilty afterward. They expect regret, or at least some ambivalence, but I felt none of that. Kyle and Vanessa had betrayed me in the worst way possible, and I'd made sure everyone knew about it. That wasn't cruel, it was honest. Marcus and I became closer friends. He'd stood by me when it mattered, and I appreciated that more than he knew. We started hanging out regularly, just as friends. He made me laugh, reminded me that not everyone was a lying cheater. "You know what's crazy?" I said to him one night, sitting on my porch under the stars. I wasted 7 years on Kyle. 7 years believing in something that wasn't real. "You didn't waste them. You learned from them." Marcus handed me another beer. "Now you know exactly what you don't want." He was right. The experience had taught me to trust my instincts, to not ignore red flags, to value myself enough to walk away when someone treated me badly. Those were lessons worth learning, even if the tuition was painful. 3 months after the party, I ran into Vanessa at the grocery store. She looked different, smaller somehow, like the weight of her actions had physically diminished her. She tried to apologize, stammering through some speech about being sorry and losing her way. I listened politely, then said, "I don't forgive you. What you did was unforgivable. But I don't hate you either. I just don't think about you at all anymore." Then I walked away, leaving her standing there. That felt better than any revenge. Kyle tried to reach out a few more times, but I never responded. I heard through mutual friends that he'd moved to another state, trying to start fresh where people didn't know his story. Good luck with that in the age of social media. His reputation had been permanently damaged, and that was a consequence he'd have to live with forever. Sometimes, late at night, I thought about those 48 hours, how quickly I'd gone from devastated wife to calculated revenge planner, how I'd held it together long enough to execute my plan perfectly. Part of me was proud. Part of me was a little scared of what I'd been capable of. But mostly, I was grateful. Grateful I'd found out before wasting more years. Grateful I'd had the courage to expose the truth instead of suffering in silence. Grateful for friends like Marcus who stood by me. Grateful for the chance to start over. My name is Natalie Pierce, and I destroyed my husband's life in 48 hours. Some people think I went too far. Some think I didn't go far enough. I think I did exactly what needed to be done, and I'd do it again in a heartbeat. The week after the party brought unexpected entertainment. Kyle's mother called me every other day, updating me on his pathetic attempts to salvage his life. Apparently, he tried to explain to his family that I had overreacted and made a scene over nothing. Patricia shut that down faster than you could say divorce papers. He showed up at our house with flowers, she told me on Tuesday, her voice dripping with disgust. Flowers! Like that would fix stealing company time to cheat on his wife. I told him the only thing he should be carrying is his dignity, but he seems to have lost that somewhere between your bedroom and Vanessa's apartment. I almost choked on my coffee. You're handling this better than I expected. Honey, I've been married 40 years. You think Harold never tried anything stupid? The difference is he got caught early and learned his lesson. Kyle had 8 months to come clean and chose to double down on the lying. That's not a mistake, that's a character flaw. Patricia had become my unlikely ally. She'd even offered to testify in the divorce proceedings if needed, which Kyle's lawyer found both horrifying and legally problematic. Nothing says bad husband like your own mother volunteering to help you destroy you in court. The social media fallout was spectacular. Someone at the party had filmed the entire poster reveal and posted it online. Within 3 days, the video had over 2 million views. The comments section was pure gold. My personal favorite was, "This is what happens when you cheat on someone who knows how to use PowerPoint." Kyle tried to do damage control by posting a long apology on his social media. It was the kind of non-apology that made things worse. I made mistakes and regret the pain I caused. However, there are 2 sides to every story, and my privacy was violated. The comments roasted him alive. Someone responded, "Your privacy? Buddy, you violated your marriage vows. Log off." He deleted the post 6 hours later, but screenshots lived forever. The internet was forever, and Kyle had just learned that lesson the hard way. Vanessa fared even worse. Her company fired her after the video went viral. Apparently, participating in a months-long affair that was dramatically exposed at a public event wasn't the kind of publicity they wanted. She tried to claim wrongful termination, but the lawyer she consulted took one look at the evidence and suggested she let it go. She left town 2 weeks after the party, moving back to her hometown 3 states away. Before she left, she sent me one final text message. "I hope you're happy. You ruined my life." I responded, "No, you ruined your own life. I just made sure everyone knew about it." Then I walked her number and slept like a baby that night. The divorce proceedings were almost comically one-sided. Kyle's lawyer, a nervous man named Jeffrey who sweat through his shirt by the second meeting, tried to argue for an equitable split. My lawyer, a shark of a woman named Clarissa, simply presented the evidence. "Your Honor," Clarissa said, laying out printed screenshots like she was dealing cards, "Mr. Pierce engaged in 2 separate affairs, one lasting 8 months. He used marital assets to fund these affairs, including hotel rooms, jewelry, and expensive dinners. He also lied repeatedly to his employer about his whereabouts during work hours, which resulted in his termination." Jeffrey wiped his forehead. "Your Honor, while my client's behavior was regrettable..." Regrettable? The judge, a woman in her 60s who looked like she'd heard every excuse ever invented, raised her eyebrow. "Mr. Pierce's behavior was a systematic betrayal of his marriage vows and a misuse of marital funds. That's not regrettable, that's actionable." Kyle got the couch from our living room and his clothes. I got everything else. Jeffrey looked like he wanted to cry. Kyle looked like he'd aged 10 years in 3 weeks. Good. The best part of the divorce wasn't the assets or the vindication. It was watching Kyle try to explain to the judge why he deserved anything at all. He actually said, "Your Honor, I worked hard for our lifestyle. I think I deserve some compensation for that." The judge looked at him over her glasses. "Mr. Pierce, you worked hard at maintaining 2 affairs while lying to your wife. The only compensation you deserve is the bill from your lawyer. Next case. I had to bite my lip to keep from laughing as we left the courtroom. Clarissa patted my shoulder. That was one of the most satisfying cases I've handled in years. Usually these things are messy and complicated. This was just watching karma work in real time. Life after Kyle was surprisingly wonderful. I'd forgotten what it was like to not constantly wonder where my husband was or who he was with. The house felt bigger, cleaner, like I'd been living in a cramped space and suddenly someone had knocked down walls. I redecorated immediately. Everything that reminded me of Kyle went into storage or to Goodwill. The leather recliner he'd insisted on, gone. The ugly painting his mother had given us, donated. The bed we'd shared, burned. Okay, not really burned, but I did replace it with a king-size mattress that I could starfish across without touching anyone's cold feet. My friends rallied round me in ways I hadn't expected. Women I barely knew from work invited me to girls' nights. My neighbor, Mrs. Kowalski, a 70-year-old Polish woman who'd always been friendly but distant, started bringing me homemade pierogies every Sunday. "You did good thing," she told me, handing over a container of potato and cheese heaven. "My first husband, he'd cheat too. I now have security camera, so I put fish in his car vents. He never find them, but cars smelled terrible forever." She smiled wickedly. "You're way better. More public shame." I loved Mrs. Kowalski. Marcus continued to be my rock, checking in daily and helping with house projects Kyle had always promised to do, but never did. We fixed the leaky faucet in the bathroom, painted the guest room, and installed new shelves in the garage. It felt good to accomplish things, to make the house truly mine. "You know what's funny?" I said to Marcus one Saturday while we were assembling furniture. "Kyle always said he'd fix that faucet. For 3 years, he said it. You did it in an hour. That's because Kyle was too busy fixing his relationship with Vanessa. Too soon?" Never too soon. I handed him a screwdriver. "Make all the jokes you want. I'm immune to Kyle-related pain now." Work became my happy place. My boss, a no-nonsense woman named Angela, called me into her office the week after the party. I thought I was getting fired for the scandal. Instead, she offered me a promotion. "You handled an impossible situation with grace and precision. Those are exactly the qualities we need in a senior manager. Plus, anyone who can plan a revenge reveal like that can definitely handle our marketing campaigns." The promotion came with a significant raise and my own office. I bought a small cactus to put on my desk and named it Kyle. Every time I looked at it, I remembered that even prickly, difficult things could thrive with the right environment. Very philosophical, very therapeutic. The town's reaction to the whole affair was split into camps. The majority sided with me, calling Kyle and Vanessa traitors and liars. A smaller group thought I'd gone too far, that I should have handled things privately. Those people clearly had never been betrayed by their spouse and best friend simultaneously. One woman at the grocery store actually approached me to lecture me about forgiveness. "You should have handled this with grace and privacy," she said, blocking my path in the cereal aisle. "Now everyone's talking about your personal business." I looked at her cart, which was full of gossip magazines. "You seem very interested in other people's personal business yourself." She huffed and walked away. I bought 3 boxes of Kyle's favorite cereal just because I could, then donated them to the food bank. Small victories. The 1-year anniversary of the party reveal arrived faster than I expected. I'd been divorced for 8 months by then, living my best life in my Kyle-free house. Marcus suggested we celebrate with dinner at the country club, the scene of the crime, but that felt too theatrical even for me. Instead, we had a small party at my house. Just close friends, good food, and plenty of wine. We toasted to new beginnings, to truth, and to the fact that I'd managed to completely rebuild my life in 12 months. Patricia showed up with Harold, which surprised everyone. She brought a cake decorated with the words, "Congratulations on your freedom," in elegant script. She said, "I hope this isn't inappropriate." She looked genuinely concerned. "It's perfect." And it was. Patricia had lost a daughter-in-law, but gained self-respect, and that was worth celebrating. Kyle tried to call me that night. I'd unblocked his number months ago because keeping him blocked felt like he still had power over me. The call came at 11 p.m., probably after several drinks. I didn't answer, but he left a voicemail. "Nat, it's me. I just wanted to say I'm sorry, really sorry. I know I ruined everything, and I know you'll probably never forgive me, but I need you to know that I regret it all. Every lie, every choice. You deserved better. I hope you're happy now. I really do." I listened to it once, then deleted it. The words were nice, but they didn't change anything. Kyle was sorry he got caught. Sorry he faced consequences. He wasn't sorry enough to have stalked on his own. Marcus found me on the porch, staring at the stars. "You okay?" "I'm great." Kyle called, left some apologetic drunk dial message, but it doesn't bother me anymore. He's like a character from a TV show I used to watch. Familiar, but not relevant. "That's growth." Marcus sat beside me. "You've come a long way from the woman who sat in her car watching security footage." That woman was in shock. This woman has processed, healed, and moved on. I looked at him. "Thank you for being here through all of it. You didn't have to be." "Of course I did. You're my friend. Plus, watching you take down Kyle was the most entertaining thing that's happened in this town since the mayor accidentally sent a spicy text to the group chat instead of his wife." I laughed, remembering that scandal. God, that was hilarious. His wife made him apologize at the town hall meeting. "See? Your revenge wasn't even the craziest thing to happen here. It was just the most justified." The second year brought more changes. I started dating again, nothing serious, just reminding myself what it was like to have dinner with someone who wasn't planning to betray me. It was nice. Some dates were terrible, but in a fun way, like the guy who spent 2 hours talking about his fantasy football team, or the one who brought his mother to our first meeting. At least they were honest about their red flags up front. I heard through the grapevine that Kyle had moved to Colorado, working some entry-level job and living with roommates. Apparently, being a known cheater with a viral video attached to your name made job hunting difficult. Who knew? Vanessa had apparently gotten engaged to someone she met online. I saw it on social media. A photo of her holding up a ring with a caption about second chances and new beginnings. Part of me wanted to message her fiancé a warning, but that felt petty. He'd figure it out on his own eventually. Or maybe he wouldn't. Either way, it wasn't my problem anymore. The coffee shop where Vanessa and I used to meet became my favorite writing spot. I'd started working on a book about my experience, partly for therapy, partly because my story might help someone else going through betrayal. The baristas knew my order by heart. Large latte, extra shot, no foam. One morning, a young woman approached my table. She looked nervous, clutching her phone like a lifeline. "Excuse me, are you Natalie Pierce?" My first instinct was to deny it, but something about her desperation made me pause. "I am. Can I help you?" "I saw your video, the one from the party, and I just found out my boyfriend is cheating on me with my sister." Tears filled her eyes. "I don't know what to do. I feel so stupid and angry and lost." I gestured to the empty chair across from me. "Sit down. Let's talk." We spent 2 hours going over her options, discussing evidence gathering, planning her exit strategy. By the time she left, she had a plan and a new email address for Clarissa, my divorce lawyer. She hugged me before leaving, whispering, "Thank you for showing me that we don't have to just take it." That happened more often than I expected. Women reaching out, asking for advice, wanting to know how I'd found the strength to expose the truth so publicly. I started a blog, anonymously at first, sharing tips on recognizing red flags, protecting yourself financially, and dealing with betrayal. It blew up within months, gaining thousands of followers. The blog led to speaking opportunities, small events at first, local women's groups and community centers, then bigger venues, conferences about empowerment and healing. I never sugarcoated my story. I told them about the pain, the anger, the cold calculation that went into planning my revenge. But I also told them about the aftermath, the healing, the unexpected joy of rebuilding a life on my own terms. Patricia attended one of my talks, sitting in the front row and nodding along like a proud mother. Afterwards, she came up to hug me. "Kyle called last week. He wanted to know if you'd seen any of your speaking events,
I told him yes and that you were magnificent. He didn't like that. How is he? I asked, more out of curiosity than concern. Miserable, lonely, full of regret. Exactly what he deserves. She patted my hand. Harold and I consider you family still, regardless of the divorce. You're welcome at our house anytime. That meant more than she knew. In losing Kyle, I'd expected to lose his family too. Instead, I'd gained allies who valued truth and integrity over blood relation. Marcus and I remained close friends, though people constantly speculated about us becoming something. We laughed about it mostly. He'd stood by me during my darkest time without expecting anything in return. That kind of friendship was too valuable to risk on romance. Although I had to admit the thought crossed my mind sometimes. Late at night when we were hanging out and he made me laugh so hard I snorted wine out of my nose, or when he showed up with my favorite takeout without me asking. But I wasn't ready. Maybe someday, but not yet. 3 years after the party, I ran into Kyle at a conference in Denver. I was there as a speaker on a panel about personal empowerment. He was there for his company, some tech startup that had hired him despite his history. We literally bumped into each other in the hotel lobby. Natalie. He looked older, tired, the arrogance gone from his eyes. Hi. Kyle. I kept my voice neutral. How are you? I'm okay. Better. Therapy helps. He shifted awkwardly. I saw you're speaking here. That's great. Really great. You look happy. I am happy, and I meant it. Standing there, looking at the man who had once been my entire world, I felt nothing but mild indifference. He was just a guy now, someone I used to know, not the villain of my story anymore. I really am sorry, Nat, for everything. I know I said it before, but I need you to know I mean it. I believe you, and surprisingly I did. But sorry doesn't change what happened. It just means you've learned from it. I hope you have. We talked for a few more minutes, awkward but civil. He told me about his life, his therapy, his attempts to be a better person. I told him about my blog, my speaking engagements, my book deal. We parted ways cordially, and I didn't look back. That night, speaking to a room full of people about betrayal and healing, I realized I'd finally made peace with everything. The anger was gone, the hurt was gone. What remained was just experience, just another chapter in my life that had shaped me, but didn't define me anymore. My name is Natalie Pierce, and I destroyed my husband's life in 48 hours. Some people think I went too far. Some people think I didn't go far enough. I think I did exactly what needed to be done, and I'd do it again in a heartbeat.